All right, everybody. This is Omar Lyles from ATS Fellowship. This is an organization called ATS Fellowship. All right. We are a graduate club from ATS, Andersonville Theological Seminary, which is the club for seminarians where we'll be sharing conversations about ministry, scholarship, and theological perspectives. And so I have a wonderful guest, pretty much someone that I have met also as well as a student and graduate of many seminaries, also attended seminaries as well. So he's going to introduce himself. So I would like you to just introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are.
Thank you so very much, and God bless you, Brother Omar. I am so blessed to be here in this space. I am Maurice Flaniken. I am the senior pastor of the Trinity Baptist Church here in Detroit, Michigan, and a graduate of the Andersonville Theological Seminary. And I'm just glad to be here, certainly with you, and to share with this great group of preachers and Christian students.
Awesome. So, one of the reasons why I have you here on tonight because you have a tremendous amount of experience in the pastoral role, as a minister, clergy, as a reverend, as a pastor. You're very involved with a lot of things. So, for before I get into everything else, I just would like you to just to tell what your role is in the various ministries that you participate in.
Oh my goodness, I don't know where to I don't know where to begin.
Let's
Uh,
start from church.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Church, I certainly serve as a senior pastor. Uh, Also, outside of church, outside of my local church, I serve as the former moderator of Greater Detroit Baptist Association, which is a collection of about 50 churches across Wayne County and in Canada. And so that was just a wonderful opportunity for me to serve there. I serve as vice moderator of the Fellowship District Association. Our moderator is the pastor Ryan Patrick Johnson, who also is my pastor. Um, I'm trying to think where else I can go. I sit on various boards here locally. Ministerial Alliance. I am the vice chair of the Political and Social Actions Committee for the uh, Ministerial Alliance here in Detroit. It's just so much to think about as it relates to the work in which we do. I sit on, like I said, several boards here locally. One that I started, the Nehemiah Project, as well as Trinity Park Incorporated, and some other things that are going on here. I just stay busy, and majority of the time when people come now, I have to kind of safeguard myself, and sometimes we have to say no. Because it's so much involved, and I like to give my all, and unfortunately, you just can't give your all in every aspect. So I'm just honored and just thankful to be one that's able and respected to be able to share in those various capacities.
Awesome. And so I have a number of questions that I would like to ask you first. And so,
Sure.
being that you've been having this role in a pastoral position, leading a congregation, uh, what is it like being a pastor and actually leading over a congregation? Because it is a lot more far different than just being a clergyman or a clergy woman or of that particular sort. What is your life experience like with that?
I will say this, Dr. Lyles, it is just an awesome experience. I'm serving now in my second pastorate. I pastored a church in the city of Pontiac, Michigan for about 3 years before I came to my pastorate here in the city of Detroit, in which I was born and raised here. And so the Lord knows I always had a heart to come back home and to serve my people here, and it has been a great blessing. And so it is a tremendous opportunity, first of all, to answer God's call and certainly to serve his people. And so in that space, the ministry has been very transformative, from a very traditional space into a more uh, modern space now. Certainly, in this time frame that we're in now versus before COVID versus now, it has forced our churches, all of our churches, whether we wanted to or not,
Mhm.
it has forced us into some sort of systematic change as the way we worship, we conduct our services, we communicate, we do outreach, and all those sorts of things. And so uh, that has been a process, to say the least. Even myself having to learn a lot of different things about technology that I didn't necessarily know, even to use spaces like this. Not that I didn't use it, I did not use it as much. And so that forced me into a familiarity into a space in which now is so vital as it relates to how we communicate with people. And
Yeah.
so, as it relates to pastoral leadership, I always think about this. I'm an avid cruiser. I love cruising, Brother Omar. And so,
Mhm.
what I was so fascinated about being on the ship is how the captain was able to take the ship and turn the ship around in the middle of the ocean without us actually knowing it. And so I look at ministry kind of in the same way. Being a pastor is uh, is how to lead the ship of God, how to answer God's call, how we share in the burden. My mind reflects back in the book of Numbers, chapter 11. When Moses had to select the 70 and to bring those people to the tent in order for them to speak with God, so he could take some of the spirit and the anointing that he had placed on Moses and to pour into others, in order that we may come together collectively to carry the burden and blessing of this ministry.
Mhm. Mm, mm. And speaking of pastoral leadership, how many years have you been pastoring?
I served 3 years in the city of Pontiac, my first church, Shallow Baptist Church, and here I'm going into my 6th year. So
Mhm.
roughly about 8 years
Mm, mm.
as
And-
senior pastor, but I served previously to that. I served as the assistant pastor at my church in Pontiac for a number of years. So it's actually pretty close to about 15.
Awesome, awesome. And you know something, as far as I want to take it back a little bit, but you was talking about how not getting so much involved with the technology aspect. Because in the past, like I would say 20 years, I would say, being that technology has advanced so much, because
Yeah.
prior to maybe to 2000, I would say like the early 2000s, somewhere around 2004, 2005, people started realizing that the church had to really start getting involved with it, because especially now during the pandemic, because a lot of churches really didn't know what to do as
Yeah.
far as technology is involved. And you got a lot of pastors and members who are a lot more older, and there was no way for them to get involved with them as far as being involved with church again, because no one was allowed to go outside. So
Yeah.
that is really, really something to actually think about. And I know that for many years I have known some pastors who were not computer literate, didn't have any administration skills or anything of that nature, nothing to do with technology. And once they were confronted with this stuff, it hit them really hard,
Hmm.
you know. So I believe that everybody to a certain point should be educated to a certain extent on how to use different tools, you know.
Yes, sir. And you're absolutely right. For myself, it's kind of ironic. I had started tinkering around with platforms like this, as well as some other things prior to the pandemic. I was
Mm,
getting my mindset to prepare myself because we weren't doing broadcasts of our services every Sunday, but I was getting my mindset prepared to start doing that. And one of the things that kind of slowed down the process as a pastor and leader, when you don't have persons that are necessarily committed or have a desire to do those things as a pastor leader, you begin to take on all of those responsibilities as
mm,
well. And so, just to think about that and the other things that were going on, certainly at the church, it didn't become a priority until later on. And
mm,
as I'm just so glad that I had some sort of
yeah.
experience with broadcasting and that kind of thing before the pandemic started, because
Mm,
once it did, when I got blasted with that, our churches were closed. You had to go and do something. Luckily, I had some things already set up and some things already in place, and so
mm,
that portion was smooth. I
awesome.
just wish that I had people that were dedicated to the work in order that we would have been able to do it and be more proficient at it prior to the pandemic actually starting.
Mhm. Awesome, awesome. And I noticed that me even when I was going over your bio and stuff like that, and we
Mhm.
have talked as well, and that you are you lead over or have participated in some Baptist associations. Tell me just a little bit about that.
Yes, sir, and thank you so very much. Yes, with Southern Baptist, I my church in the city of Pontiac was a Southern Baptist church, and so when I came to the Trinity Church of Detroit, they were not affiliated with any association. So I brought them in and introduced them to Southern Baptist Life, which has been phenomenal, certainly for me. And so coming into that and beginning to work, um, there was an opportunity that presented itself, and I was elected moderator of Greater Detroit Baptist Association. Hoorah! Yay, yay, yay. And it was just a wonderful experience in October of last year. And so October of this year came around, and there's certainly some more things that I want to do. And it's just been really just amazing to be able to serve in that space. And we have elected a new moderator who is now serving as the moderator. And I
Mhm,
thank God for the space that he allowed me to serve in wonderfully in
mhm,
this year, of being able to connect with pastors and churches in such a diverse setting.
mhm,
Like I said, not only in the city, around the city of Detroit, but in many suburban areas where you have Caucasian churches and you have Spanish churches, you have Filipino churches, you have Canadian churches, uh, all of us being able to come together as one. And it's just really been an amazing experience.
mm. Awesome, awesome. So, being that you've been pastoring for some time now,
Yes.
what is the license and ordination process like? Now, I pretty much know what is
Mhm.
the process, but what was the process like for you?
Oh my goodness. What can I say? And as I thought about that, uh, for me, in the old Baptist church where I came from, it was always a major thing that the senior preachers or the elders would always tell you to study under the tutelage of your pastor.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And so what I seen my pastor do, I did. I was in every week. I was in a Sunday school teachers meeting. I was in Bible class. I visited to sick. Two or three times a week, me and another senior preacher would go out and visit the sick and those sorts of things. And then my senior pastor at that time and another pastor in the city started this school, Detroit School of Preachers. And so that was my first experience in a formalized setting as far as preachers and education, which set the foundation for what I was going to face years later. And I'm so thankful to God for those 2 years. Brother Omar, I'll be honest with you. I sat in that class for 2 years and I never said anything because
Mm,
I didn't know a whole lot. And so when you don't know a whole lot, you ain't got a whole lot to say, but you do a whole lot of listening.
mhm.
And I was able to listen, I was able to understand, and I still thank God for those experiences that I had then because they helped prepare me for where I am now.
Awesome, awesome. I know that you was at Ashland Theological Seminary for a minute too. What was your experience like there?
Ashland Theological Seminary is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Uh, my heart is near and dear for Ashland Theological Seminary. They had an extension center here in the area in Southfield, Michigan, but
Mhm.
through the pandemic, they have now closed that extension.
Mm,
However, it was a wonderful experience, a time of learning and sharing uh, in a diverse setting where you
mhm,
had people from not just the Baptist church, but you had other people from other faiths as well. And so it was just a wonderful experience, other denomination, I should say, as well. It was just a wonderful experience of learning as it relates to practical theology, as it relates to homiletics and hermeneutics and all of those kinds of things, sermon preparation, oh, and the list goes on. And
mhm,
it was just a special blessing for those that were in our cohort, which was about roughly about 25 to 30 of us
mhm,
went through that program. And it was very, 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 very great. Very great. Awesome.
mm, awesome. Here's the thing as well. Uh, mm, uh, why do you think it is actually important to actually go to seminary?
Hmm. That is a good question. And I think uh, as we look at that, Brother Omar, I talked about the foundation.
Mhm,
And my first goal as it relates to seminary was the fact that I knew beyond a shadow of all doubt that I needed a good foundation.
mhm,
And so, being with my pastor and studying under him, it prepared myself to enter into seminary. Now, with that being stated, I was able to talk to my pastor and ask him, "Well, Pastor, what would be a good seminary to basically go to?" And I was
mhm,
able to do that. And I found a place here in Pontiac, Michigan, called Midwestern. The Midwestern Baptist Seminary. And so I
mhm,
went there for a while, and some things happened financially, and I wasn't able to go back. And so it's a really unique story how that happened, how I ended up at Andersonville. But God blessed me to be able to be connected to Andersonville. And hey, the rest is basically history. But I
mhm,
sometimes say this, and I think it's very important as it relates to going to seminary, that you have a foundation. It's so vitally important because those areas that we sometimes we can get in can be somewhat kind of sticky, if you will. And so in my foundation, I was able to learn the fundamentals of Christian doctrine. I got my biblical foundation at home so that when I did go to school, I had an idea or concept of what bad theology was.
mhm,
And today I'm so concerned about the church and even preaching at best because I see a lot of our preaching, a lot of our ministry now is a malpractice.
Mm. Mm.
And so we cannot be homiletical geniuses and hermeneutical failures.
Mm.
You know, I think some of us get caught up into what sounds good, but the question becomes, is it true? And so
Yeah.
when you enter into these seminaries now, and I'll touch on this, but now you have to deal with these ideas or concepts about the gender of God.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have any foundation and understanding about those kind of things, you can be easily misled and be off target.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Preach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so the old preacher said it like this. He said, "Preacher, now I want you to look at this. If your wardrobe costs more than your library, you know where your focus is."
Mm. Mm.
And there's some that people have caught up certainly in ministry with a number of things, and wardrobe was just one thing. Maybe it could be cars, maybe it could be something else, or whatever it may be.
Mm.
And you have not invested in yourself to sit down and apply knowledge, to study it, to go after it, to seek after those things. You know, we are in a very, very rough place.
Mm. Awesome. Awesome. And I know that from my experience, I've learned a tremendous a lot from just going to seminary. And I've been to
Yes.
actually more than one on the
Yes.
graduate level and the undergraduate level. And on the undergraduate level, I actually went to an inner city Bible school before I entered into going into a more a professional seminary level education, and that was my first experience. It was called Eastern Bible Institute.
Okay.
And many people used to shun, institutes, because they say, oh, well, they're not really recognized, they're not really the it, when you go to like, a Morehouse School of Religion or Drew Theological or Princeton Theological or, you know what I'm saying, like a Yale
Yes.
Divinity School, those kinds of things. And so, but I've learned even a lot just by going there as well. Uh,
Yes.
and as you talk about learning about fundamental doctrines and learning the art and science of biblical interpretation, hermeneutics, and
Yes.
learning how to prepare a sermon. And I
Yes.
learned those things
Yes.
going into Bible school and seminary.
Yes.
So it's not like it's not a one-nighter. A lot of people think that when
That's
you go to Bible school, they think that it's very easy and that it's like a cakewalk through the park, and it's
yes.
not. It's not a Sunday
Not at all.
school lesson, and it is also not a Bible study.
Yes.
It's Bible study 10.0.
Yes. Yes, sir.
It's Bible
Absolutely.
study on 100,
Yes.
you
Yes,
know?
indeed.
Because you're learning about like Hebrew and Greek and the various language, the historical backgrounds and church history, and it's
Yes.
diving into all those specific subjects and a whole lot of other subjects as well
Yes,
outside of the
sir.
Bible. Pretty much I have pretty much had learned about as well. And so as far as the academics and the
Yes.
seminary, you'll learn about church planting and missions,
Yes.
learn how to plant a church or start a ministry and those kinds of things. And
Yes.
it's awesome. If anybody out there, please, if you're looking to go, if you really want to know more about those specific topics, go to seminary. And I know it's a financial burden or anything like that, but try to find one that's actually going to meet your needs and going to give you the education that's going to
Mhm.
get you from point A to point B. Okay. So
Ab-
one of the things, 'cause I have a few more questions because I don't want
Yes,
to
sir.
keep you too long or anything like that. But you also very involved in the community, I guess. So why is it important for churches to get involved with ministry or be active in the community?
I think s- A statement that was made years ago have stuck with me for all of my years of ministry, that said this: if your church closed, would the community notice?
Mm-hmm.
And so that says to me that the church should have some sort of influence, some sort of impact in the community, so much so that it becomes the fabric of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in your community, if they close your local grocery store, it should impact you in such a way. Wow, the grocery store is closed, and now I have to go further, whatever the case may be, and some of the valuable things that I need are not readily available as close to me now. And so, as I look at church as a starting point, but also look at the needs of the community, and to see how the church can develop its program for outreach to reach those that have been lost. And so I think about some things that I tried to started that I'm still working on. Not only as it relates to offering people Christ, but also how to live each and every day. So
Mm-hmm.
people need to know how to learn. They need to know how to read. They need to know how to use computers and technology.
Yeah.
They need to know how to find a job. How can I be concerned about your soul and not be concerned about your well-being and what you're
Mm-hmm.
going home to? I've got to be concerned about if you're a child brought up in a home with people with addiction. And so being able to offer spaces for places for people with addiction and those sorts of things, all of those things encompassed in the work of ministry. Grief counseling, certainly in this space that we're in, we deal with grief all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think our ministries, various ministries, should be able to speak to many of those things. Now, we can't address every issue,
Mm-hmm.
but we
Yeah.
can't walk away from all of them. We have to
Yeah.
do something to engage our people in order to speak to their heart and their soul condition.
Mm, awesome. And I know that you were also involved with police chaplaincy. I myself, I'm training as a chaplain as right now. I was very involved with chaplaincy organizations out here in New Jersey. It was called United Chaplains International,
Mhm.
under the leadership of Dr. Linda Rozier and her late husband, Elder Rozier.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm with the College of Pastoral Supervision in Psychotherapy, CPSP, a wonderful chaplaincy organization. I've done a lot of chaplaincy in hospitals, in the community, and things like that. But how did you get involved in chaplaincy, especially police? I was a part of a police chaplaincy organization out here as well. But how did
All
you get
right.
involved with one?
That's a wonderful question. And it started all the way back as a kid, as a teenager. I started out as a police cadet,
Oh,
and I
wow.
stayed with that program for a number of
I wanted to
years.
go into that program like that. Out here in New Jersey, I didn't mean to cut you off. One
Yes,
out here in New Jersey, it was called the Explorers. It was a
yes,
junior police department. When I
yes,
seen that, the first time I seen it, right,
yes,
I was in the Boy Scouts and I
yes,
was in a parade, and we
yes, sir.
had our Boy Scout and Cub Scout uniforms on. Then I
Yes.
looked over, I seen these young kids with police uniforms on. I said, wait a minute, man, what are they doing?
Yes, sir. You're 100% right. And that's where I started. Actually, I started with the law enforcement explorers first in the city of Detroit, over in Southwest Detroit. The 4th Precinct, 404, was my home base. And they were working under the Boy Scouts of America. And so later
Oh.
I ended up joining the junior police cadets. So I was involved in the law enforcement explorers and the police cadets. So police was in my blood by
Mhm.
that time. And so uh, I always wanted to do something. How can I mesh the ministry and policing into the same thing?
Mhm.
And so I found that in chaplaincy. And so I wanted to do something more. I was very early into my pastorate. And so I wanted to, with the, what really catapulted it or moved it forward was the fact that the relationship between law enforcement and the community had gotten so bad.
Mm.
And I wanted to take part in it so that I could do something to try to bridge the gap. I
Yeah.
didn't know if I could be able to make a change, but I wanted to make an impact. And so I joined the Macomb County Community College Criminal Justice Training Center back in 2016 and
Mhm.
finished my basic course there. And then in 2017, I went and did my advanced study. And in 2019, I was appointed by our late sheriff of Wayne County, Benny Napoleon, as a sheriff chaplain. And so I've been serving in that capacity ever since.
Awesome, awesome. That's really good, just to hear stories like that. And my experience in being part of the police chaplaincy, I've gone to a civilian police academy at one time, graduated from that program, but to culminate all of the other training I have got was pretty much from my experience from the organization pretty much I've been involved with and being all involved with the community chaplaincy because they had training from each one of those organizations and a lot of those things that I was involved with. It was amazing. And
Yes, sir.
I'm looking to have it as a career. So,
Wonderful.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
the CPE programs, all those, programs that, I'm getting myself involved with. But yeah,
Yes, sir.
what were actually your goals before going to seminary?
My goals, as far as personal or as far as church.
I would say for church, I would say all around.
Okay, that's a good question. And honestly, I actually went to Eastern Michigan University. I attended there very early on. I went there with the idea that I was going to uh, do my undergrad in business. And so I began to think to myself, okay, business, human resources management. And I said, wow, I said, I couldn't imagine spending so much time in a cubicle when I can be out working,
Mhm,
helping people. And so I kind of pulled out of that. And then I changed my major to secondary education with a focus on special education and dealing with children with emotional impairments. And so I started that process. And as life would have it, um, there was an opportunity that presented itself at home, and I kind of pulled out of the school there and went to come home to go to school and got to another school here locally that wasn't like Eastern Michigan University, and they were totally way behind where Eastern Michigan was. And so I spent some time out. And so later, that's when I found myself actually getting back into school a few years later. And that's
mhm,
when I started seminary.
mhm. Awesome. Thank you just for having a tremendous amount of knowledge, pretty much that you have been given to us tonight. And so, before
Yes,
I actually closed out, but then after we get off, I'm just going to spend like a minute. We can just chat for just like a minute. But
yes, sir.
what I would like you to do is just to give everybody, on this particular platform and wherever people are probably going to be listening, or if they're listening, just to give at least 2 minutes of why it is important for a person to go to seminary and be involved with ministry.
That is a great ending point. I think that as it relates to ministry, once one has received a call, this call, the first call that we receive is a call to preparation, that one should prepare themselves for the great work of ministry that is before them. Uh, Ministry has changed so much in now what they or people look to the church for. And in this space and time that we're in, we have to be able to have an answer to direct hungry souls to a place where they're able to be fed. And so that is going to require us to have more than just a Sunday school lesson. It's going to require us to have more than just a prayer meeting. We have to sit down and get ourselves together and gain some skills, some know-how, to be able to see the signs and symptoms of not only for a person that's going through, but also to be able to see the signs of the symptoms of somebody that may be dealing with suicide or grief or many other things that we often, addictions, many other things that we often deal with. And so it's going to take some tools in order to be able to speak to those various areas in which people need to be ministered to in a practical way. And so I certainly recommend seminary. I also recommend a strong foundation in your core understanding of the Bible. And what seminary does, it ultimately builds up what you have already received from the foundation. And so that is what I want to say to encourage those who really seek to do ministry in a wonderful and impactful way to take time out and to learn from the Word of God, but also take it a step further in order that we may do ministry in a more wonderful way.
Awesome. Thank you just for actually just giving this word of inspiration to those who may want to attend seminary and involved in pastoral leadership.
Yes, sir.
You know, where if you want to be a minister, a pastor, a professor in seminary, or whatever it is,
Yes, sir.
or any connection that you want to be involved with, you know, just thank you for just coming on tonight. And I really, really appreciate it, you know?
I'm so honored and so thankful, and
Yeah.
I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous a lot of times in these settings, but I thank God for, again, for this opportunity. And I feel free at any point in time to reach out to me. I am the preacher's preacher, and I'm willing to offer any kind of help, aid, or assistance that I can, now or in the future.
Okay. All right. So right now, I just like to just thank you for actually just coming on tonight and just being a part of this live broadcast. So everybody, this is ATS Fellowship with Pastor Maurice Flaniken. Thank you for actually coming on. And so we're gonna have more live discussions. Probably like on probably every fourth Monday of the month, probably, you know, however I schedule it. And so this is for the edification of the ATS group with ATS Fellowship group with Andersonville Theological Seminary. So just thank you for coming on tonight, and we're going to have more live discussions. Also, we're going to have the journal that I'm going to actually be working on as well, the magazine and journal for the ATS Fellowship group. Also, I will be doing the uh, more interviews. We're going to have the fellowship and the journal, and we're going to be have more meetings and things of that nature. Okay?
Dr. Lyles, very
Yeah.
quickly, if I could say thank you so very much for creating a platform such as this and all the wonderful work that you're doing with the alumni portion of the Andersonville Theological Seminary. It is just wonderful. And I just thank you for it because it's such a blessing to keep us all informed, connected, and certainly it's much needed in this time.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, let me about to head out, everybody. Stay tuned for more. Bye
Take
bye.
care.
See you soon.
Peace.